die. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to this follow-up of the lecture on social media and online communities and collaboration. As we mentioned, we have a panel today that we're going to discuss some of the things that are happening now on social media, on online communities with. And before we get started, let me introduce the panel to you. We have Cindy Koopse, author of Vrijwilligers Centraal, who's joining us. Dr. Kees Boersma from the Free University of Amsterdam in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Organizational Sciences. Martijn Neef, Senior Innovator at TNO. All three of them are joining over Skype, so hopefully everything works. Hi everyone, can you hear and see me?
Just fine.
Yeah, no problem. Yes.
Excellent, thank you so much. Thanks for joining today. These are, when we look at social media and online collaboration, of course, these are interesting times with the virus and the responses that are going on now. And that's what I would like to talk a bit with you about from your perspectives. So maybe to get started, it would be interesting to start with a first question, a broad question to all of you. So we've seen these developments in the last week about activities online, initiatives online on social media. Is there anything that you have seen happen in the last weeks that really stand out to you, that you find interesting? And Cindy, maybe I can start with you.
Yes, thank you. Well, I look at the volunteer perspective towards this. So what is really standing out for me is that there is a lot of organizations trying to organize the spontaneous volunteering. So there's a lot of questioning in the field for what are you doing? Tell us, please inform us. And at the same time, we see the people that are doing things are actually really busy doing things and kind of don't want to be bothered by all these questions and kind of fail to see the need for them to give time and energy in sharing this information, sharing this data. So that's my main observation for now.
So what do you think is what is holding them back? What do you think is the challenge for them?
I don't think they see the win of sharing this information. They're very focused on their own projects and working out and figuring out, seeing what they can do, how they can help others. And the information sharing, data sharing is something, there's no payback for them. So it doesn't really motivate them to do this. And we see that the people who do not have the network to initiate their own projects, that they are searching for ways to volunteer and to give their help to others.
Okay, excellent. Martijn, anything that you have seen in recent times on happening online, on social media, or in terms of initiatives?
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of things that caught my attention. First off, and it's kind of in line with what Cindy said, I already see a disconnect happening. So a disconnect between the professional world and the societal world, volunteers, people who are mobilizing themselves to do something. From TNO, we're in the lucky position to are somewhat connected to the operational teams at the moment. So we have a little bit more insight on what's going on in the safety region across the Netherlands. And to be honest, I don't have the feeling that, say, volunteer actions or spontaneous citizen actions at the moment are anywhere in the eye of the professional communities. So they're totally disconnected. And we can explain that, but it's an interesting thing to watch for in the next few weeks when the crisis is going to ramp up. So when will these two worlds, say, collide? So that disconnect is an important one. There's a kind of a collaboration gap there. That also leads to a question of how to channel that enormous thrust from society to help. And that's a second point I already saw happening over the past few weeks, is that even though there's a huge thrust to start up platforms and say citizen help events, if you look really closely to those platforms and what's being done, there isn't that much going on yet. There's lots of things being organized, but there's not much content. Just log on to any of the, say, the larger platforms, have a look on what's inside. So there's lots of people offering help, but there's just little need at the moment. And that's interesting because so what's the actual demand there? Is there a demand at the moment? There might be a demand in a couple of weeks when things get worse, but aren't we overreacting to the situation at the moment? I don't have any questions. Just noticing that we say we're being motivated, we are mobilizing, but there's no question there.
So you see a lot of energy at this moment happening. Kees, do you see the same trends and developments?
Yeah, I definitely can recall what has been said. I look at the situation also from the crisis management perspective, so that's a little bit biased, but still you can see the many roles and ways that social media plays at times of crisis. So some things are not really unexpected. So you can see that social media can function as a sort of a platform to mobilize people and for people to mobilize themselves. So Cindy was talking about the spontaneous volunteers. You definitely can see that happen. Also the regular organizations like the Red Cross or NGOs who are used to work with volunteers, they are opening up and try to be a mediator between crisis organizations and the public. So social media as a mobilizing platform, then you'll see social media as a source of information and data sharing with its challenge in its own right. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later on, but information overload, fake information or information that at least is not validated, which is a difficult thing in this crisis anyway, because although it is a slow burning crisis, things are changing so rapidly. But a third function, if you may, of social media I would like to mention is really the social aspect of social media. So okay, people are offering help and maybe there is not yet a lot of concrete action, but I'm working from home and colleagues of mine, and I'm joining them, are using social media also to, have a virtual drink together or a Friday afternoon and encourage them, each other and themselves basically to keep on. With work and ask, okay, how are you doing at home and so forth and so on. So if there is any moment in time in which the social in social media is important, then it is now, I think.